In 2008, I started writing about my life here in Japan, and I was inspired by the death of a girlfriend. And we had been together for a couple of years, and it was a very painful experience. But she had always been urging me, because she said, you know, you're a writer, you're supposed to be writing, why aren't you writing? So she had always been pushing me. And then when she got ill, she died of cancer. When she got ill, throughout that experience, she was always consistently urging me, you know, get serious and get writing. So once she passed, I started focusing on my writing. And I started a blog around that time, 2008, called Loco and Yokohama. And I think my intention was to fulfill the promise I made to her that I would get my writing off the ground. And then also I wanted to attract publishers, and I wanted to attract editors with my work. So I wasn't actually targeting your typical blog reader, which typically has a short attention span. You know, my average blog post was 1,000 words, 1,500 words. You know, I was just full in, going in, talking about my perspective of Japan from a perspective of a New Yorker, a perspective of a person of African descent, and from a perspective of a foreigner. So I think all three of them kind of look at Japan differently. So that was my intention with starting Loco in Yokohama. I had no idea that it was really going to take off as much as it did, though. I mean, apparently there weren't too many voices here in Japan who were voicing who were talking about and addressing the type of issues that I was addressing in my blog, and it really resonated with a lot of people. And I wasn't expecting it to take off the way it did, but it really did launch my career. So that's how it got launched, and the books came out of that, because on my blog I had done a series called "Hi, My Name is Loco and I'm a Racist," which was the title of my first book. And in that series, it was kind of a conversation between me and the people of the world, basically, about what is racism, how does it impact you psychologically, how does it manifest itself in our world, not just in Japan but in America, in my experience. So it was kind of my personal experiences with racism over the course of my life. And it really resonated with people. And so I took that idea and expanded it into a book, and that was how the first book came about. The second book, Loco and Yokohama, was, I think a lot of the readers who, you know, enjoyed the first book, they were curious though, if there's so many struggles in Japan and in the U.S., you know, why do you stay in Japan? Why don't you go to another country or go back to the U.S.? So I had to show them the other side of living here in Japan, which is how I've been able to build relationships and maintain relationships, and how, you know, the kind of joy and happiness that living here in Japan has brought me. And that's what the second book was about, and that also resonated with readers too, because they said, oh, okay, that's why he's still there. That's why the country is still appealing to him. So that was the story behind the two books. The column was the result of the books. It followed the books. I mean, the success of the books attracted the attention of editors, which was my goal with the blog in the first place. And the editors from Japan Times got in touch with me, and they said, listen, we read your book, we think your writing is excellent. How do you feel about doing a column? And I think initially I said no. I said I wasn't interested, because over the course of writing a blog, I realized that the people I really want to get in touch with, or people I really want to connect with, is not foreigners living in Japan, but actual Japanese people. Because if any changes are going to occur here, or if any of the qualms, or any of the complaints, or any of the issues that I'm addressing on this blog are going to, if any change is going to occur in Japan, it's going to have to be done on a Japanese basis. So I wasn't really keen on writing for an English language newspaper who, you know, probably Japanese people are not even familiar with. But in the meeting with the editor, he informed me that, you know, a good 25% of Japan Times readership are English reading Japanese people. So I had a change of heart, decided to do the column. It was the best decision I ever made, because the column gave me a bona fide platform, you know, a major media platform in Japan. And I think but my intention for starting the column was I think that, okay, I need to backtrack a little bit. I think the major problem in Japan when it comes to race is that there's not enough information about people of African descent among Japanese. If you speak to most Japanese people, they'll say they never met a black person, they don't know anything about black people, so how can we have a problem with them? We don't know anything about them. But that's not the truth. The truth is they have a lot of misinformation about people of African descent, and they act on that misinformation. I wanted to make sure that all the stories that I had been hearing over the years since I'd been here about the wonderful things that people of African descent are doing here in Japan are well known. So I needed a platform to do that, and Japan Times offered that. And so I started profiling what different people of African descent are doing here, the diversity of the diversity of things that we're into here. For example, there's lawyers and doctors and university presidents and J-pop idols. I mean, we are all over the place, and I don't think Japanese are aware of how diverse, what kind of diverse activities that we're into here. I think for the most part, they kind of see us as either military or maybe as African guys in Roppongi harassing people, or those kind of images of us. So I'm like, no, we're doing a lot here. And I think that it's important for Japanese to know about that because it's going to have an impact on how they respond to us and how they view us and how they perceive us. And this is important.